Alright, so hello guys, this is the first live viewing we've actually ever done, and this is basically just a little quick update on what we're going to be seeing in our next severe weather outbreak. So if you could please just consider subscribing if you're new, and liking this video if you're enjoying today's briefing, because we're having a little stream, like, not an actual little stream, but like a pretty decent live coverage stream like tomorrow afternoon. You'll probably be starting like in the late morning hours, so if anything, please tune in if you're like in these areas, because those are the areas that are most likely to get the worst impacts out of today's and well tonight's and tomorrow's storms. But this is a hot spot for tomorrow. Out west over here, it's where we're expecting some of the worst of the storms. Like tonight, is there's going to be an overnight severe weather threat. Um, I'll do something real quick and we'll get right onto it. So if you could please just hang on for like a second. Okay, we're back. Hello, Weather Watcher. Welcome to the stream. And we're just gonna do like quick update once again. So, okay, here's the future simulated radar for tonight and into Thursday. So, this entire storm's also dropping some pretty decent snow and ice across all this region, and some pretty nasty storms over here. And by the way, you're welcome, Weather Watcher, and hello, Rain Mapes. Welcome to the stream. So you see all these storms in the south, and as this whole storm moves east, as well as to the northeast, you see that the storms are just kind of really strong. I don't know if we can say that. But there's definitely a tornado threat and all other hazards as well with this expected storm. So, yeah. And we also got this huge area of snow in some areas, including Kansas, Missouri, southern Iowa, and into Illinois, Indiana, northern Ohio, northwest Ohio specifically, and as well as Michigan. And I'm also gonna switch between the various regions while we're at it. So I'm not just gonna like stay on this region. I'm also gonna like take a little peek at other regions, obviously. So this is a hint of what we could be seeing for the next outbreak, which would be technically starting tonight. This is a hint of what we. Now, so we're gonna go into some of the setup, and you'll see what could be going on in terms of what's fueling this event, basically. As I've pointed out my last couple forecasts, dew point's like one of them. Gotta wait for this to load. Here we go. So, as you can see, there's like widespread values of dew points into the 50s as far north as, let's say, northeast Illinois, northern Illinois, and Indiana and Ohio, as well as areas in the northeast. But dew points in the 60s could be stretching as far north as southern portions of, let's say, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. So basically along the Ohio River Valley, that's as far north as you can see dew points reaching in the 60s. Yeah, if you could see, there's like dew points well into the 60s, upper 60s, maybe even. Whoops, we'll get to that later. But yeah, that was a mistake. My bad. So some of these dew points could even expand to to this low 70s, like over here especially. So let's see what that does. So as the sea storms move eastward, all this moisture is being ejected northward once again. And as you can see, some dew points are really moist, and once again, 50s, 60s, possibly around 70 even for some areas like Missouri, Mississippi, I mean. Sometimes I mistake names, even like Alabama possibly. I don't know if that'll really happen, but dew points in this upper 60s are kind of a good bet. So yeah. Now we're gonna look at some what Cape shows. So we got a little bit of instability over here. So as time moves on, you can see that instability just kind of moves eastward and all. So Arkansas, Louisiana, you'll be like morning and it crosses the Mississippi River around noon tomorrow. And then as you can see, it's like, so yeah, Mississippi River is going to be like late morning or afternoon. I'd say once again like around noon. And then Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee, as well as Western Kentucky, maybe even the Ohio River Valley areas, Western. You guys would be like early afternoon. Then over here, like Central Kentucky, Tennessee, and into like Alabama, that'd be like well into the afternoon. You guys are expecting to see these storms. And this is all tomorrow again. So yeah, heads up. These storms will start to weaken with time as we head into like eastern half of Alabama and Georgia, as well as the eastern halves of Kentucky and Tennessee. But we still can't fully rule out that severe weather threat as some of the energy fueling these storms are still there and they're just kind of on an off trend is all. So nothing too much, but as you can see, it's weakening with time. We do get some values possibly to 1,000 joules per kilogram. That's be like on weak or moderate instability, like basically on that borderline right there. Um, so yeah, you can see that in the dark blue regions. I can't really guarantee that but I feel like it'll be more like somewhere between like 500 and 1,000 will my peak is, but I'm not gonna rule out that because if we see these values, then there could easily be a moderate risk in at least a small area. So just a little reminder that there's plenty of forecasts and there's gonna be plenty of updates between now and then, and specifically that'll be on the stream because we're only like less than a day out this point from this event. It's actually gonna be like the next day. I was specifically talking about the timing and all of that. So now we're gonna head into what the bulk share says. Um, so yeah, bulk share. Let this load up because we always need to let things load up. Apparently, because well, why not? I mean, my network's not the best, but it's okay. I feel like it's normal like that, especially if I have like a few things up. So that could also be a thing. I have like a few things up, so specifically for this briefing. So if you can see like these really intense values, but I feel like this will be kind of displaced from the very severe weather, but even there where the severe weather occurs, it's gonna be like well enough jet or like bulk shear to like really get these storms firing up. We were talking like intense values, like well over 100 possibly in some areas, and like where the storm tracks. But I feel like that's not really gonna be like really pertain to these storms, obviously, because this is mostly like north of the low track. But over here, there's also like a ton of bulk shear, but not like over here where the jet kind of is. You can indicate by like the red and yellow colors. The actual bulk shear where we support the severe weather and is easily enough to produce any severe weather. Even just like the modest instability, like even just under 500 joules per kilogram, we still have that bulk shear once again, and all that moisture returned from the Gulf, which is bringing in really conducive values for these storms like prior once again. So these are, so if you see these holes in like the bulk shear, like patches are like almost nothing, that's likely where these storms are. So we're going to use these as indicators for storms like thunderstorms or severe weather. As this line moves north or eastward, so does this jet, and it's like really just kind of behind the storms, as well as the cold front, because that's where we see these storms tracking along. And as we head into like Thursday evening, this is kind of where the whole storms are. It's like eastern Kentucky, Tennessee, and into like northwest Georgia, and as well as central and eastern Alabama. So if you could see right here, this is where the storms would probably be, even extending like eastern Ohio River Valley. This is about as far north as it probably would get. So I'd say like the low is taking kind of a track like this or so. Like where the mouse cursor is going. So the other is very active jet, which is clearly bringing a lot of fuel for these storms. And you got combining that with all this moisture return and this all bulk shear, and all this once again is mentioned like Gulf moisture return and all these other ingredients out there. This is definitely a significant severe weather outbreak, and there's going to be plenty of tornado activity too, probably with these storms. There could even be like a few significant, according to the Storm Prediction Center, which we'll look at here. So here's tonight's severe weather outlook. So there's the slight risk issued for portions of Oklahoma and Texas. And areas around that slight risk that are in the marginal risk include portions of southeast Kansas, southwestern Missouri, and western Arkansas, as well as northern Texas and most of Oklahoma. If you're in Oklahoma or Texas, are in the marginal but not in the slight. What's driving the slight is actually all hazards, but they don't cover like the entire area, but only the wind does. So if you're in the wind area, that's where that entire slight risk is technically covered. The other hazards like private portions of it. And so 5% you're seeing like southern Oklahoma and far northern Texas, where like compared to the slight risk, once again for the 15% hail risk, except the eastern portion of the slight risk is actually cut off, and only the western portion of the slight risk is basically 15% hail risk, which accounts for slight as well. Just like the 5% tornado risk. So here's the tornado map. Once again, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas. Everywhere in any severe risk is also going to be seeing some damaging winds. At least it's a hazard, not necessarily like 100% guaranteed, but if you're in that path of the line of storms, then yeah, you're going to see it. Just like the hail risk that once again, maybe a little southward trimming for the overall risk, and as well as that little cut we just made across the eastern half of the slight risk for hail. So this is basically, now we're going to go to day 2 outlook. So you see that we have that enhanced risk across portions of eastern Arkansas, far northeast Louisiana, much of Mississippi, and as well as northwestern Alabama and western half of Tennessee. Areas in the slight risk include the far southeast Oklahoma, far northeast Texas, most of Arkansas and Louisiana, as well as most of Mississippi and Alabama, and the northwest as corner of Georgia, as well as most of Tennessee and Kentucky, and the far southern areas of Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Ohio, along the Ohio River specifically, and the marginal west across parts of the Mid-Atlantic, as well as extending into the Midwest, and also down the Gulf Coast. So what's driving this enhanced risk is actually two things. One of them is the tornado risk, and the other is the wind risk. Hail is a smaller threat and not really much because This is expected to be a squall line, and these tend to produce like wind-driven threats and even some tornadoes rather than hail as the focus. And this appears to be kind of what tomorrow's event is going to be like. But if we'll look at the discussion, and but there's also a hatch 10% significant tornado risk area, which includes most of the 10% enhanced tornado risk overall. So you see it covers portions of Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama for the hatch risk, but basically all areas in the hatch risk are also at 10% tornado risk and a 30% wind risk, as you can see. So again, just like tonight's event, this is also covering so basically all of these risks are basically accounting for the wind risk, which is basically just once again like tonight's event. And then hail risk once again is a little small risk. And not all areas that do see severe will also see large hail. But again, small hail is definitely possible and is probably going to occur anyway. So yeah, main threats are tornadoes and winds, damaging winds. So this is all expected to occur throughout Thursday, all of it, because this is a event that's technically getting started tonight in the late hours. And a couple of tornadoes remain a possibility as well as locally damaging winds. So you see all of these setup ingredients we've been looking at are favorable. Even with the meager cape, that really strong fall off we were also looking at will be favorable for significant severe weather, as you can see here as well. And with that boundary layer becoming at least neutral, and with the greater certainty of surface and near surface based storms, it will also be possible that for the entirety of the free warm sector, there will be some possible convection and thunderstorms, even severe as well, as we're focusing on pointing out. And some very strong shear, which is basically going to be fueling tomorrow's event, even like compensating for like the little cape that we're going to be expecting. This will be the main hazard, basically the main ingredient that's going to be making sure that the severe weather is kind of there, you know. It's like very strong shear, suggestive supercells, and an intent risk for damaging winds and several and possibly locally strong damaging tornadoes. That's a keyword there, and that's going to be unfortunately something that could happen. And this is winter, but what February could also be considered a time when severe weather is just slowly starting to get back up on its feet, as thunderstorm activity is slowly also starting to increase, and the coldest temperatures can be normally expected around January for many areas. So February temperatures start to warm like a little bit too. And then come spring, it's like really the peak of severe weather season, especially like April, May, June. And this is what upgraded to enhanced risk earlier today. And we're focusing on the Tennessee Valley, especially in the late afternoon and evening hours. There's also going to be some other concerns, obviously not just the whole severe weather situation, but also a whole wintry side to this mess, including snow and ice. So Weather Prediction Center for day one has issued a 70% chance of heavy snow in the red zone, including portions of southern and eastern Kansas, central and Missouri and Illinois, and northwestern Indiana. And that green west, which is 40%, extends from northern Oklahoma and into southern Michigan, and 10% ascends from the far northern panhandle regions, Oklahoma and Texas, and all the way into Ontario. So this is definitely a whole concern that we're going to be looking at. And some areas, even over here in like northern portions of Indiana, Ohio, could still see some snow too, even if they're starting as rain, because most of us are actually starting as rain, even if we're in the heavy snow zone. So if you look at this is going to be definitely a flooding concern too. So if you see there's a marginal risk for excessive rainfall for portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, for day 1, which technically speaking is tonight. And for Thursday, there is a major risk for larger areas, including Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, the Western Carolinas, and Western Virginia, as well as the state of West Virginia. Don't be confused, like the west half of Virginia or western portions of the Virginia state or West Virginia, because they're really sometimes just kind of too similar to, like, and then also like Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Far Eastern Oklahoma, as well as some portions of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and as well as Pennsylvania and going into the Northeast New England. But then that slight risk for excessive rainfall is being issued for eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, Indiana, and into Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, and western northern New York State, and into western Vermont. So nothing for day 3 after that, because that's when this whole storm just kind of moves off the shore. And also, it kind of dissipates eventually. So nothing much after that. But while we're talking about the storm as it's still here, and it's starting up right now. So speaking of which, here it is on radar. Some storms didn't pop up across western Texas and Oklahoma. It doesn't look like anything severe yet. I feel like that watch should be issued very soon. So see some storms we can monitor over the course of the next few hours. I'm not gonna be streaming until like late morning tomorrow, because obviously I gotta sleep. I'm still in high school. Actually, I'm only in my first year. I shouldn't have said that, but like, I'm just saying, I still have a whole high school career I need to attend to. Doing that, but also we've switched to remote learning. So even though I technically could, I just don't know. Should I do it? Or should I just do the stream? Because I feel like I'm still having that plan in mind. I'm probably going to be starting like around 10 a.m. Central Time. So you see storms in western Oklahoma. You can see all that heavy rain, and there's probably some lightning activity beginning with it too. So yeah, we're going to continue to monitor this whole thing into tomorrow. Maybe a little weak rotation starting up with some storms. But again, nothing much. So, Oklahoma, Texas. Oh, there's some severe weather warnings starting to pop up. Okay, yeah, this whole thing is starting to develop. Again, I'm not really into streaming tonight. I'm talking like tomorrow, because that's when the worst of the storms hit. So yeah, these storms are really starting to gather up. Midland, Texas, watch out for severe weather. And as well as Odessa, Texas. But you guys are starting getting to the storms in Midland. You have like a few minutes of lead time ahead. But yeah. So yeah, these are for damaging winds mostly. And some little like weak storms ahead of the line as well. Oh no, oh no, like, I just realized I'm not even showing you the radar. I'm just showing you like the other stuff still. My bad. No, I can't find it. I'm actually just gonna do this. Sorry guys for a little delay. Again, I'm not gonna be long. I'm just gonna like do something real quick and then we'll get back on track. Okay, there we go. Okay, now it's up. Now you can see the severe weather warnings. Once again, Odessa, Midland, Texas. You guys need to watch out. These ones are about to arrive, and it's already happening in Odessa. Midland, you guys are about to get slammed. So, nothing, no other warnings apparently so far up here. So if you like go back to the Oklahoma radar, you can once again, these storms are starting to become strong and eventually they're going to be severe. They're developing right now, so you guys have a little time ahead to just kind of suit yourselves, because you've got time to prepare. Over here, all these areas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, southern Missouri, and Kansas, as well as all the way over here, in the southern Ohio River Valley, as well as southeast. You guys like have tons of lead time. You can even be watching the stream ahead of time, and you'll have the right time to react. And also, I'll be pulling up that fancy radar. I'm not on that computer, so I only have radar scope. But unlike the the little computer I'm using right now, the monitor, I don't have a microphone yet, so the only way I'm gonna be able to respond is through the live chat. So you're lucky enough that I'm using this computer to do the briefing and be able to talk to you guys through there, because I'm not gonna do that on the stream because I don't have the microphone for that yet. But hopefully I'll get that soon, and I'll be able to like directly speak to you guys on all streams. So this is like just a reminder that severe weather season is coming up, and like just around the corner basically, and this is a hint of it's starting right now. The line of storms are starting to like organize again, and so let's see how these storms have been going along. Oh yeah, this only looks like 10 minutes, but you can see that these ones are developing, and it's gonna continue doing so. So we're seeing like over here and down to these severe thunderstorm warnings for Odessa and Midland. Those are where we're gonna see those storms like it's gonna continue to develop and organize, and all of it's gonna move east with time. And again, it'll probably be like 10 a.m. when I'll start streaming, and I'll be like, and it'll be like probably over here, but then the rest of it's like ahead of it, like Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. That's where like the worst of the severe weather is gonna hit. And yeah, I'll be there, but I'll only be like responding to you guys and scanning it through the chat, because I don't have a microphone for the monitor, because that's the only computer where I have that fancy red I really wanted to show you guys, and that decent stream setup which I have modified a little. So yeah, this is a kind of like a little update before the actual event just really ramps up, but it's already starting, so we just want to be sure that we all know our little severe weather plan. If you're in a trailer running, like take shelter, but there's no trailer runnings right now. But in case if you ever get one, just make sure you know to do that. And if you are in a trailer running, like tomorrow, something like that, tonight, if it's tonight, you're gonna have to like make sure you stay up. I mean, yeah, you probably want to stay up if you're like in Oklahoma and Texas, cause this is an overnight severe weather threat, and there's also a tornado threat. So I feel like sleeping wouldn't be too much of a point. Over here, you guys can sleep tonight because the severe weather threat isn't going to start until in the day. So like, east of the Mississippi River, where the rest of the severe weather threat is not going to until afternoon. So you get a night of sleep, and then you got a day for severe weather action, preparing for it ahead of time. Arkansas, Louisiana, you can kind of sleep, because it'll be like 10 a.m. and these ones will be like probably over here, central, middle of like Arkansas, Louisiana. And then it'll probably be like crossing the river like around noon, maybe 1 p.m. or so, central time. And once again, you see these storms like kind of progressing along. So yeah. And then we're gonna go back to the forecast models and we'll show you the wintry threat once more and go into the amounts kind of with you. And then that's kind of the end of the briefing for tonight. Again, I'll be back on tomorrow. It'll be an actual stream. I'll try to be as active as I can on the stream. Because obviously it's a live coverage of the actual event. And yeah, it's going to happen tomorrow. Regardless. So yeah, I will have to do it. So yeah, let's get this other thing pulled up. And yeah. So now we're kind of heading back into the models. This run, okay, I guess it's okay to do it because this isn't even a day out anymore. It's like a day full. I mean, this one's technically still going, but we're past the rest of this rather. This is GFS in a fresh, brand new model run that just started while we were on with this briefing. But again, it's still ongoing. You can see that heavy snow in central Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and northwest Ohio. As that low tracksuit. I'm gonna say, hold on. Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma specifically, northern Texas, and into northwest Arkansas, the far southern Missouri, Illinois, and along the Ohio River basically, and then also into southern Ohio, and probably into Pennsylvania. We'll have to wait a little longer for, so I'm gonna switch back to the HRRR, which is we were looking at the first place. And you'll get the full view of what's happening. And then we'll look at the snowfall and ice mounts that we're probably gonna be seeing with this whole mess. So most of the snow's gonna fall probably like Thursday. Yeah, that makes sense. So we got some heavy snow concerns. The HR just wants to like slam northern Oklahoma and eastern Kansas with like over a foot of snow, some localized or small areas. And then that swath of heavy snow continues a little lighter across central Missouri, Illinois, and northern Indiana, and northwest Ohio, as well as southeast Michigan, and along the Great Lakes shore and or the Canadian border for Pennsylvania and New York State, and also into northern Maine. This is where we see the greatest potential for heavy snow. So again, and this is all over by like Friday once again. So these are the finished and fully completed snowfall rounds for the storm. And then we'll also take a look at what could fall in the ice part of the storm. So this thing's getting started. We'll see some ice across a good area for southern Iowa and much of Illinois, as well as much of Missouri, southeast Kansas, and northern Oklahoma, and into Indiana, northern Ohio, and also some eastern Great Lakes and the northeast regions. Again, I'm not really too concerned about concerning ice mounts, but we're also going to look at other models to see how they do it. But over here, I'm not too sure what some of these models are doing to some of these areas. But let's be a little more realistic here. I feel like half-inch of ice, maybe locally an inch at best, for many of these that do see like pounding ice. So definitely not the 2 inches. That's how one of those forecasts we've had earlier this winter, they were just an example of showing really concerning ice amounts. And then it turns out like only up to an inch at the very most out of the entire storm fell. Most were so like half-inches of ice. So, so yeah. Now we're comparing with other models again. So So like the mess scale version of the NAM. And this is a specific model that we warn about when it comes to wind shear forecasts, especially ice, basically, because it can lead to like very ridiculous amounts, like not as much as it was before, fortunately. So that's good. But like we could still see some swath of like over a quarter an inch of ice. That would be the criteria of an ice storm. And some lighter ice amounts over here. I have Missouri, Illinois, and the Michigan Lower Peninsula, because these are as well start as rain. But as we start to cool down, like because they're also north of the low, they're not gonna be seeing the severe weather per se. These areas are, but up here we see some beginning rain, possibly in convective nature, but lightning activity is none to little. And no, severe weather is not expected once again because dew points and temperatures are not that high, even ahead of the actual storm. But I guess no, that's not it. Oh, a blizzard. But that's like after everything has passed, and there's also gonna be some blowing snow. Did I forget to mention that? And even though it's wet nature, we'll still see some blowing snow, but that would be like reduced compared to like the drier, so like higher ratios. I'll give this one more of a 9 to 12 to 1 snow to liquid ratio for inches for most of the areas that do see it. Again, I just want to point out that there's a ton of things moving apart to this whole storm, and not just one thing, but like, okay, sorry for that awkward pause, but like, you see this heavy ice, it's not guaranteed like 100 inches of it's gonna fall, but like, no, that's actually impossible. I just made it look like the most unrealistic thing ever. I meant like an inch, but I feel like that's a little overdone too. Half inch is just the most realistic I could get, and possibly see the maximum amount, maybe even like 0.75 inches, like, or 3/4 of an inch. But even just like a little glaze of ice, it's like any ice at all, and you're starting to see real impacts. So 3/4 of an inch of ice is very significant and very, detrimental to the areas that do receive it. But again, this is like mostly north of the low. But some areas could transition from seeing thunderstorms, maybe even severe per se, to some really damaging ice, maybe even a little snow at the end, because the snow is also moving east, because it's also a cold front, and watch as this whole temperature gradient sinks northward as Canadian air is once again like Arctic air spilling from Canada and Gulf moisture evacuating northward. It just creates a perfect storm, as we're going to be witnessing tomorrow. Look at that insane temperature gradient. We're talking like upper 70s. Let's say like over here, and then like just hopping like 30 miles, you're like almost 30 degrees lower than, like 30-degree difference between 2 points that are like 50 miles separated. So that's kind of interesting about weather. It's one of those things where you got really large temperature differences, gradients. And then let's see how much it all actually drops. So Nashville will be seeing like nearly 20-degree drops Thursday evening in just an hour. And then continuing on, it'll get to freezing like just 4 hours later. Something like that. So yeah, it's just a pretty crazy temperature gradient. Again, this is all coming from a pretty major storm that's also been packing with it severe weather, and obviously we got this whole snow ice thing we were just going over. And then after that, it's just kind of calm, but we're still in a semi-active weather pattern because there's this whole other storm that's also in the models that could also bring similar things that we were seeing from just this storm, which we will get to. It's like 5 to 6 days out or something. So the main focus again was today's little major pretty bad storm. So we'll get that in the models to just briefly go over, and then this briefing is like actually almost done. But you can like watch the replay of it because it will still be up for like ever basically. Or you can just rewind a little bit and see what you missed. But here's the radar. Again, there's this other storm, pretty large. Kind of the same aspects, but like, there's like actually 4 different storms. Oh yeah, that is definitely a train of storms going on over here. You see 1, 2, 3, and 4 low pressure centers or storms. All of it would be bringing rain, snow, ice, thunderstorms probably for the most part too. And this track would be basically going from the southern plains and in the Midwest. So this is a pretty decent period that we're going to go through for the next being like a week or so. So yeah. And the stream for like through weather is me like right around 10 a.m. in the morning tomorrow. So again, we'll take a little quick look back at the snowfall and ice simulations because this is not one of the models we have been looking at, and that includes for like amounts for anything. And we'll also look at rainfall amounts before this briefing officially ends. So this model kind of takes it lightly, but then with this next storm, it is also kind of major. Well, these next 2 storms, we could say. So, not much for what I could out of that little storm. For the most part, I think. Oh, and maybe it is, because, again, I just said, there's like 4 different storms, and you even saw that in the models, right? So, yeah, an active period, especially next week, but also with tomorrow's storm, is kind of what we're seeing. So, with all of that in mind, now let's head quickly into the ice amounts and rainfall amounts. Oh yeah, this model actually got a little crazy for northern Ohio. I'm not even joking right now. Up to an inch. Also packing a punch somewhere in, let's say, like central southern Illinois, Missouri, and Indiana. And now here's the rainfall amounts real quick. This also actually takes account like all the precipitation types, so but a serious flooding situation, actually I'm a little too far, but I feel like that's still holding true. Well, it is, kind of. But the rest of the flooding is actually occurring from this storm for southern Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and central Ohio, I guess. Over here, we could see inches like widespread 1 inches of rain, 1.5, even up to 2 in some places. I know over here in central Alabama it's locally possible for 2 inches or so. And then this one kind of fades away into the ocean, and as she is painting after he moves offshore. And even before that, as you can see really quick over here, um, this is Sunday. I think this is the storm that we're basically talking about right now. As the storm is moving off, like Friday night, this is the storm. It's definitely weaker than what it once was inland, and it's kind of like came apart. Um, so like one night earlier, just this is a whole nasty storm, really large, and of course, severe weather being packed with it. But this is like a global, like kind of model, like national one, so it doesn't do much, like doesn't go into like the mescal scale stuff much again. So yeah, nasty storm, really large and containing all kinds of weather impacts. Again, we'll be around tomorrow, late morning and afternoon. So you can also send questions then, but we'll also take some few quick questions in the live chat real quick. And again, if you've not already done so, please just take into consideration, just consider subscribing and liking to this channel, and liking this stream or briefing, whatever you call it. If you did enjoy today's update on the whole dynamic storm, obviously my thumbnail just had to focus on the severe weather, but we also went over a little bit once again on the winter weather stuff, as you just saw. So, and it's also really raining because of all of these convective nature storms, not really like thunderstorms in my area. These are like convective showers basically, and they're all in rain right now. So I'm also able to hear that from wherever I am, because I'm also by a window. It's actually, yeah. See, I'm sitting like by a window, so I could definitely hear the rain like really coming down. But yeah, it's a little reminder. Again, if you've not done so already and enjoyed our little briefing today, this final reminder, like, I'm not gonna push you, just like please take a consideration right now to subscribe to this channel and like this video if you did enjoy today's briefing, and we'll see you in the stream. Stay safe.